Hello, my name is Oliver Kim and welcome to Actors Vlog. Today we're going to talk about headshots and things you should consider when you do them. Once again, these are my personal thoughts on this topic, so if you feel like they don't suit you, don't listen to them. First and foremost, what is a headshot? And what are the things that you should consider when you're taking them? I'd like to think of it as a cover of a book. You got your resume, you got your show reel, but in my experience, first thing that casting agencies look at is your headshot. Headshots are basically a representation of you, what you look like, what your body look like. So make sure that headshots are as close as possible to the way you look at the moment. So when a casting agency is calling you for an audition, they expect the person they saw on the headshot to show up. And if you have a different color of hair or suddenly you have a face tattoo, that will probably bother them because it's a pretty important part that you left out, which is not very good for you. So make sure your headshots are up to date. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples of my headshots and walk you through my thought process. So here are a couple of examples of my headshots. I had a very minimalistic approach to it and I felt that it also reflects who I am. I personally would try to avoid clothing that distracts people from your face, and in general, I'd suggest to keep it simple. So casting agents, in my experience, are no BS, pragmatic and practical people. They don't need a show, they're always on time schedule and therefore would like to get to the point as quickly as possible. They need to see what you look like or whether or not you fit for the role. Usually casting agents ask you to provide them with different variations of headshots. I usually send them 2 close-ups of my face, one where I smile and the neutral one. They also would like to see what your body looks like, so I would suggest you to send them a medium shot, which is from the top of your head and down to your hips, and also a full body shot, which is basically from top to bottom. Occasionally I send them pictures which are not your typical headshots but more like a modeling shots. It really depends on the project. Sometimes they're looking for an actor who modeled before, or if the role requires you to look a certain way. So if you have a picture like that, it helps them to visualize you in that part, which is good for you. But usually they provide with reference photos or descriptions of what kind of actor they're looking for, so you'll have to make your decision based on that. Okay, I think this part covers the topic of what is a headshots and what are the requirements. Let's talk about the process of getting your headshots done. Okay, before you start looking for a photographer, I think it's important to have an idea of what you're going for. For example, in my case, I did my research and found some reference photos of this Korean actor called Gong Yoo. You might recognize him from such movies as Train to Busan or the Squid Game series, but that's beyond the point. And once I did that, I contacted my photographer and showed him the reference pictures, so he made sure to get the same feel of it. So let's say you're looking for a photographer and you realize that hiring a professional photographer to take your headshots cost a pretty penny. So for example, my very first headshots were not taken by a professional photographer. They were taken by my friend who happened to have a camera. And we just made sure that we had a good lighting and sort of plain background, and they turned out to be pretty good. I honestly feel lucky to be living in this day and age because you can even use camera from your phone to take headshots and result would be just fine. Remember, casting agents want to see what you look like. They're not necessarily expect to see modeling shots. Just make sure that the lighting is good enough and you have a plain background and you're good to go. There are also a bunch of good editing programs which are user-friendly. I personally can recommend Picasa app, which is free for download. You can adjust your lighting, contrast, saturation. I would avoid putting heavy filters on them, which would disturb the way you look. I'm a strong believer that you don't have to have tons of money in order to get quality headshots or showreel. I mean, it helps, but it's not all that matters. Don't stop yourself from doing something because you don't have money for it yet. There are many possibilities out there, you just have to get creative with it. For example, if you're looking for a photographer, you can try to connect with somebody on Facebook, and maybe a friend of a friend is a photographer and you can ask them. Or you can find somebody who takes photography classes and you can just buy them lunch or invite them for coffee, and that would be good enough. I think that's it on the topic of headshots. If I missed something, let me know in the comments. I'm aware there are many opinions on this topic, but hey, if you have a better idea, share it with others. Okay, I hope you found this video useful. Please like and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next video where I'm gonna be talking about showreels. Bye! 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hello, my name is Oliver Kim and welcome to Actors Vlog. Once again, these are my personal thoughts, so what is a headshot? And Headshots are basically a representation of you, what you look like, what your body look like. Headshots are a representation of you, what you look like, what your body look like. So when taking headshots, make sure that your headshots. I'm gonna show you a couple of examples of my headshots and walk you through the process and thought process. So I'm gonna show you a couple of headshots. So I'm gonna show you a couple of examples of my headshots and walk you through that process.